Okay, so this master class is being recorded, and this is our second master class. As a matter of fact, this is EA300B. And my name is Dr. Sameh, if you happen to be from another class. Before the recording, I was asking people to come to the mic and share something about themselves, whether you belong to my class or Dr. Mohsen's or Dr. Arro's class. Let's start with Amira Hamdan. Amira, can you hear us? Obviously, Amira. Yeah.
Nina?
Yeah. Hi, Amira. Amina, I'm sorry, Amina.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is your first, I mean, you didn't attend last time, right?
No.
Okay, so you belong to my class or to whose class?
Yeah.
My class or Dr.
No.
Mohsen's class or what? Yeah,
Yeah. With the doctor. With
Dr.
you.
With me. Okay,
Yeah.
nice. Okay, are you from where? Dammam, Riyadh, or where?
Yeah. The mom.
Dammam, nice. Good. Okay, thank you, Amina. Hatun, can you hear us? Yeah. Okay, Joyce has her own reason. She's only going to listen today. Layla?
Yes, I'm Layla. I am from the branch with
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Aru.
Okay, yeah, okay, good. Thank you, Layla. Salim? Salim is the family name. I don't know what the first name is. That's fine. Uh, Arish Amir or Omar. So,
Yes, good
yeah,
morning, doctor.
very good morning to you, Arish.
I'm from Riyadh branch and I belong to teacher Arwa class.
Nice. Okay, thank you. Sophia Muhammad. Okay, we also have Afnan, Afnan Hassan.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah, hi, Afnan.
Yes.
Uh,
I'm from Jeddah branch
mhm,
and I'm with you,
with
with
me.
your class.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And we have also Al Juri. I'm hopeful that I'm pronouncing the name correctly. And we also have Fatma Ibrahim, Tun, Zara Hassan. Yeah,
Yes, doctor.
Fatun, go ahead. Yeah,
I'm Fatun from Riyadh with Dr. Mohsen.
okay. And then we have Sarah, Tala, and Tasneem. Okay, طيب, anyway, welcome to the second session, the second masterclass session. We've been talking about a lot. In my regular class, I finished off The Tale of Peter Rabbit, and we migrated to the second picture book, which is Voices in the Park. Tell me about you. How far did you go with that? Are you done with The Tale of Peter Rabbit, everyone? And the
Yes,
other
doctor.
classes? Okay, nice. Good. Okay, so you're likely to start Voices in the Park next week, right? Okay. That's why I changed I don't know whether you have noticed that or not. I even sent you a notification through, I think, quick mail or something, or perhaps the announcement part on the LMS. We are rescheduling the first quiz to accommodate you. The first quiz, if you're aware, covers both the Tale of Peter Rabbit and Voices. That's why we rescheduled it to, I think, the 20th, which happens to be a Thursday. So it's not going to be next week, week 4, it's going to be the week after. Okay, so let's talk about the tale of Peter Rabbit and then move on to the other picture book, which is Voices in the Park. So how much do we know about the tale of Peter Rabbit? By now we have been talking long and enough about it in terms of themes and ideas and in terms of the techniques used. Remember, we spoke about this unprecedented blend between the picture and uh, the text. I mean, unprecedented. Unprecedented for us because we're so used to having, the text or the words monopolizing the conversation because the novels that we have done over the 40 years, the plays, the poetry, it all has uh, or they all have at their core text rather than illustrations and pictures. So this is quite unheard of until we came to the course and we started to really appreciate the role and the part that pictures play. I'm sure your teachers have highlighted that heavily enough in your classes. So what do we know again? Or perhaps the question would be how can we approach the tale of Peter Rabbit or the picture books in general in terms of if we're preparing for a quiz, if we're or a final? Two things you need to do. You need to kind of read the text very well, and you need to focus your energies more on the pictures because the text can be silent on a number of issues, and there are always gaps in the text, and those gaps are kinds of clarified if you go to the picture and look at it very closely and try to kind of interpret the quotes. Remember, picture books are about quotes. I'm sure you have done Mobius and his quotes and what color means and stand for, the positioning of the characters, the framing of the whole picture on the page. And these, the angle of vision, whether the character is big or small, whether the character is close by or far. These are all meant to send certain messages. And I'm sure by now you're getting those messages yourself as a reader. Um, so in order to prepare for exams and in order to study this part of the course, you need to both, like I said, engage with the text itself, with its pictures, and also you need to read the articles. We have a number of articles and essays, and you have to go through them. Teachers kind of touch on them, but it's to go and read them very well so that you can come up with interpretations and ideas. I'm trying to say that the secondary sources or the articles are going to inform the experience. So when people study, they normally start with the primary source, and the primary source in this case would be the text itself, the tale of Peter Rabbit or Voices in the Park, or the other side. And I'm talking about the text. This is the first thing that you should do, to read the primary source. And then after you have finished reading it, you go to the secondary sources. And the secondary sources are the essays or the articles that you have on and about the text. And you read the sources very well, and then you go back and revisit the text. Revisiting the text means that you read it again. And because they are picture books, they are easy to read. They are more accessible than long or full-fledged novels. So they wouldn't take much time with you reading. You can read them in one sitting and in one go. So this is how you do the thing. Again, this is together with the insights that are being given and arrived at in your regular classes with your teachers, Dr. Arwa and Dr. Mohsen. So if you do all of that, I think you are on your way yani towards understanding and comprehending the material very well. Um, we need, and this is very important, we need to create a group for the master class. So we do have our, or perhaps you're more than welcome to join my classes WhatsApp group. So instead of having like a separate group, you can join. My people are not so many, so we can accommodate you in our WhatsApp group, so that you can have updates. I share with them podcasts generated from my classes. We always share the master class recordings. So I think it would be a good way of reaching out. It would be easier for me to kind of share things with you. I don't know, Joyce is here and is not here. I know she has an emergency. Joyce, if you can hear us. Okay, that's fine. Uh, I want, because Joyce is the admin over there in the WhatsApp group. Um, I wanted her to share the link to the WhatsApp group link. Uh, Perhaps we can do that. Yeah, yeah, this is what I'm saying. Yes. Joyce, can you share the link? Yeah, yeah. So Joyce is going to share the link in, I think, in the box here in the chat box. And through the link, you can secure membership in the group. And like I said, you will receive updates and also recordings, links, and a lot of other nice stuff. Um, let's focus on um, the tale of Peter Rabbit, and I would like you, first of all, if you have questions, if you have something that you're not very clear on, come to the mic and share. So we're going to start with, I'll give you space. I'll give you 5 minutes to think of what you think you need me to kind of expand on and explain more. And then we start our discussion. So if you have something, come to the mic, raise your hand first, and then we go from there. I'm waiting. So you're kind of scratching your heads, looking for questions that you may want to ask. But in the meantime, I'll go to my, yeah, Wissam is saying something. Let me read. The problem is that it can be a little bit disruptive. Yeah, Wissam, can't you talk? I mean, is it too difficult to talk? Not disruptive, I mean distracting. I'm sorry. I used the wrong term. Okay, we're so sorry for that. Yeah, Wissam, that's fine. Yeah. I think Joyce has now shared the WhatsApp group link. Yani press it and you are on your way to becoming a member of our EA300B group. Um, like I said, I think I also need to share where I normally put my my recordings for EA300B. Let me see if I can access this very quickly. It's happy learning, and so it's EA300B masterclass. Okay, so now let me share my screen. Okay, so this is where you're going to find the what? The master class recordings, and also the regular class recording. Take this and put it here for people. Okay. Okay. This is not the end of it. If you would like to go to the EA300B part, you need to go to the playlist. And in the playlist, you will have EA300B master classes. Of course, these are the master classes of the last semester. They are still valid. They are still relevant. If you're ahead of yourself, you can use them. That's fine. Again, we still have last time's master class. Let me see if I can have the link for that. Yeah, this was what we did last time. Let me copy it for you. For those who didn't attend last time, I mean, this is the link to the recording of last time. It was only voice and audio because for some reason the cam was disabled. Okay. So again, this is all procedural. Let's now focus on whatever is substance, whatever is relevant to the Tail of Peter Rabbit experience in class. Okay, so now come to the mic if you have questions. Things that you're not very clear about and you would like me to kind of clarify. Okay, so if you cannot come to the mic, yeah, share on the chat area. In the chat area. Yeah, Wissam, you may want to write your question in the chat area. Mm. Are you writing something? Yeah, Wissam? Yeah, Wissam wrote something. Let me read it. Let me open it so that people can see it too. Yeah, Wissam is asking if we can have a question about the pictures in the story. Yeah, you can have that in the midterm. You can even have a close reading question. Close reading question is not limited to is not limited to text. You can have a picture. We have seen that on many occasions in the midterm where you have a picture and you're supposed to comment on the picture. You do a close reading of the picture as you do with passages. Yeah, you can have that. Of course, because of the how important the pictures are, sometimes we have questions on the pictures, of course. Yes. So it's not only about the text like we agreed. So in order to kind of highlight the centrality of the picture, we have questions on that, but not in the midterm. The midterm is some kind of multiple choice questions where you can also have questions on the picture and its centrality, but it's going to be multiple choice. Yeah, we're talking about the codes and the symbols, the colors, but we're talking normally in the midterm exam, when you approach a question like this, if you choose to approach, if it's mandatory, you have to do it. If it's not and you have chosen to try it, we're looking at the totality of experience. We're not going to, we give you a picture and we don't want you to only focus on the colors, for example, and you forget the other elements. So you look at the picture in its totality and you talk about it in its totality. Totality means that you would consider colors, you would consider where the characters are on the page, whether they are big or small, the angle of vision from which the picture is taken. These are all things that you put together, and they all contribute towards the experience that we have of this particular page and this particular page. Yeah, that was a good question. So in the past, we used to talk about close reading in terms of text. You have a passage and you comment on the passage. In EA300B, the close reading part can be about a picture, not a text. Again, pointing to the centrality of the picture and to the whole experience. Any other questions? Um, it suggests that you you either haven't started kind of preparing and studying. I don't know. Yeah, perhaps you're busy with other things. Perhaps you think that it's too soon. This is the third week, and people normally start after that. In either case, you need to start. I mean, because time flies, and you don't want to find yourself having so many things to process when the time is very limited and very short. So I encourage you to start engaging with different works, and you start reading the secondary sources so that you can have questions. Yeah, Fatma Ibrahim is saying, let me check what Fatma is saying. Uh, Everything is clear in this story. That's good. But obviously, there is more to the story than just the story. Of course, we're not talking about the storyline because it's very basic. Um, yeah, we're voices in the park, and the reason why you're unclear about voices in the park because um, we're only starting. You're either in my class, and we started only on Monday, and half the class because the other half was finishing off the Tale of Peter. And that's it's only natural because it's going to take some time. We're going to talk about it for some time. I don't have to worry. Me and Dr. Mohsin and Dr. Arwa are going to, of course, cover everything when it comes to voices in the park. Okay, let me go to the discussion part of this master class, and let me talk about the Tale of Peter Rabbit. Remember, I mean, the hierarchy of interests, and we had uh, we set a number of priorities. The first priority was to introduce you to picture books and to highlight the centrality of pictures and how you can read those pictures and how you can kind of interpret the codes and the signals and the symbols in them. This was part one. This was the first priority. The second priority was to talk about the tail of Peter Rabbit, talk about the tail, to deal with it in at the beginning in a casual way, and then whatever is casual turns into whatever is academic and rigorous and serious, and then you start apply what you have learned from that theoretical part about what picture books are and what codes are. You try to apply them to the Tale of Peter Rabbit. And then the third stage was, or the third priority was to talk about the themes and the ideas and the ideologies behind this particular picture book. Again, um, being informed by whatever you know about what picture books are, whatever codes there are on the page. Um, I'll now focus perhaps on the third priority, which was the themes and the ideas coming out of the experience of reading the Tale of Peter Rabbit. And actually, we said a lot about the Tale of Peter Rabbit, spoke about Peter Rabbit and how far does he conform to and deviate or deviate from the conventions of children's books heroes. Heroes and main characters in children's books have certain characteristics, and and this is actually what Peter Hunt said in one of his articles. Was his first name Peter? I don't remember. The idea that there is a set of conventions that you don't miss in any of the works of children's literature. I'm talking about the hero and how central the hero is, who happens to be male, who is a boy, who embarks on adventures, and there is a measure of initiation. He goes through hardships, but he emerges victorious at the end. Of course, when he comes at the end, he's totally different. The one you see at the end is totally different because he is more knowledgeable about the world and its ways. He is more experienced. He is more mature. So this is the trajectory of any conventional, um, you know, children's book hero. We have seen that time and time again in the different children's books that we have read over the years. So the question now is whether Peter is different or the same. Is he similar to other heroes in other children's books, or is he deviating from the norm and from the conventions? So reading through the Tale of Peter Rabbit, you're going to find him and even the other characters are actually, conforming to the mold, conforming to the conventions. We have Peter, who is male, who is a boy, and he is very muscular in everything, even in his act of defiance and resistance, whether he is resisting his mother and her pleas against going to Mr. McGruger's farm, or whether he is resisting Mr. McGruger himself and his figure of authority. So on more than one level, Peter is a conventional children's literature hero. He is no different. And even the other characters are posing as conventional subsidiary characters, secondary characters. When we look at his sisters, we find them again following his lead, or following the lead of those conventions, in the sense that they are non-assertive, they don't talk much, they follow orders and instructions no matter what, they never say no. Again, this was typical of females, actually down through the ages, not only in children's literature. Um, and across the genres, you have females who are reduced to, uh, you know, mere non-assertive, individuals or beings. I'm saying that they are individual with dignified. They were non-assertive beings. They are there perhaps to provide the needed background, the needed binary, but they were not assertive in any sense or in any way, and this is, of course, very unfortunate. Again, the only thing that is perhaps different is the role that the mother is playing. She is the father and the mother. She is a single mom because of what happened to her husband. Again, this is perhaps the only deviation from the norms and the traditions of children's literature, because she comes across as assertive. She comes across as a woman who knows a lot about a lot in the world. Um, so this is the only deviation, I think. So one single exception does not make or constitute the rule. So if we're going to give an assessment of the Tale of Peter Rabbit, we're going to say that it's conventional, except for the fact that we may have our own interpretations as who Peter Rabbit is, and who or what he stands for, actually. And that can be postmodern, because we are not him, because he is a byproduct of the Victorian age with its rigid values. You have to respect authority, you have to obey, you should follow, and all those kinds of things. Um, we're looking at him from perhaps a postmodern perspective, as people who live in the postmodern era. And of course, our ideas are totally different. So we would think of him with different, in a different lens and in a different way. And this is something that we're going to also talk about. Again, Peter is conventional. The Tale of Peter Rabbit is, as a whole, is conventional. You may feel that there is this sense um, of the instructional in it. The fact that obviously the author um, is trying to perhaps give a message, but depending on how you interpret the end of the picture book. If you think of chamomile tea as a punishment, so it means that perhaps she's giving us a moral lesson. She's trying to tell us you need to follow. Children should obey their parents no matter what. If you think of chamomile tea as perhaps a reward, she's trying to do everything in her power to nurse him back to health. That it means that Perhaps there is no moral involved. Perhaps the writer is ambivalent. She's not taking sides. But if you're talking from a 21st century perspective, you would think that chamomile tea can be a reward in order for the mother to nurse her son back to health. And obviously, this is condoning what he did, condoning what he did. What he did is, in a conventional sense, is transgression, is violation of norms, is disobedience. And disobedience in a conformist society like the Victorian age is not seen as a good thing. But from a 21st century perspective, yeah, non-conformity and dissenting are norms, are things that we meet and that we encounter. So these are the levels that I would like you to engage with the picture book against. I mean, think big about it. Think from a conventional perspective. We're talking about values that the Victorian society holds very dear and near. And we're talking also from a 21st century postmodern perspective that that sees a suspect in everything. So with our suspecting eyes as 21st century readers, we can read the picture book in so many different ways. One way would be to think about the character of Peter in archetypal terms. You think of him as the archetypal rebel, law and rule breaker. Think of Robin Hood, for example. Think of um, Adam and Eve and their transgression and what they didn't think of Satan even. So these are all examples of rebels that you may see Peter in or against. So this is one of the interpretations. One of the ideas that people keep talking about is the idea of gender roles and whether those gender roles in the picture book are traditional gender roles or perhaps Beatrice Potter is turning gender roles on their head. And obviously, it depends on, first of all, we need to agree on what we mean by traditional gender roles and then see this picture book against them. So what do we know? What do you know about gender roles? Gender roles are, males are assigned certain roles and women or girls are assigned a set of other roles and duties. Traditionally, of course, men and boys were given the upper hand. They were portrayed as very assertive, powerful, and strong. This is what we are used to. Uh, and females were portrayed in a different light. They have always been portrayed as negative, as subsidiary, as secondary, as non-assertive, obedient, right? We have done that. We have seen that all over the years. So these are the traditional gender roles that we normally see in works of literature. And then we start to look at the new work of literature and we start to judge, start to question it and see whether it is observing those rules, those traditional rules, or deviating from them. So judging from our experience in the tale of Peter Rabbit, we're going to find that Peter is a typical muscular figure. He has all the features and the qualities and the characteristics of a traditional male in terms of the adventure that he um, uh, embarks on, in terms of the disobedience that he showed towards his mom. But this is a typical, conventional gender role. When you look at his sisters, you're going to find that they also um, fit the mold, if you like, and the fact that they are also very conventional in their gender roles. They are obedient, non-assertive. They never say no to their mom or to authority for that matter. The only violation of gender rule, but for obvious reasons, and she has reasons for that, would be the mother, because she is presented as a figure of authority, which is something that we're not used to. For a mother is a female after all. So she is presented as, shouldering the responsibility of the household single-handedly, because her, her husband was made into a pie in Mr. McGruger's house and farm. So she is taking up the roles of both the father and the mother. Again, we're in Victorian, or according to Victorian values, women were not given that mm, role. This is perhaps the only violation. Other than that, the other, uh, um, you know, features and manifestations of traditional gender roles are kept and honored and observed. Um, Again, when we talk about the tale of Peter Rabbit, we also um, think about the idea of poetic justice, and this is something that we normally have in literature. The idea that um, because literature is normally about, yeah, it's about reflecting life as it is, but sometimes people are ambitious and they want to reflect life as they wanted it to be. So in order to reflect life as it should be, you have those rules of poetic justice, where towards the end of a piece of work, the good people are rewarded and the evil and bad people are punished. And this is something that we need to apply to the tale of Peter Rabbit. And let's see whether those rules of poetic justice are kept or, broken and violated. So when we talk about, and again, it's going to be very tricky because we're not agreed on what uh, Peter means and what he stands for. Is he a rebel? And what is our concept of rebellion and whether we approve of it or not? Is he, so if you think of him, if you have this rebellious streak to your character, and you think that at one point you have to say no, no matter what, you would think that towards the end, that you would think that he is a good person, and having chamomile tea was meant to help him recover, which is obviously a reward. So if you think of him as a transgressor and somebody who violated norms, and you don't agree with that, you would think of the chamomile tea as some kind of punishment. So he is, according to you, in this sense, he is bad and he is being punished by having chamomile tea while or when everybody else is eating normal kind of food, his sisters, for example. So he is deprived of uh, um, the pleasing tastes of those different kinds of food, and he is confined to and reduced to mere chamomile tea. So you need to think of it this way, whether the rules of poetic justice are kept or flouted in the tale of Peter Rabbit. What else about the tale of Peter Rabbit? Again, there is always talk about whether there is an instructional agenda in the picture book, whether Beatrice Potter wanted to convey something, wanted to teach a lesson, or was it mere entertainment that she had in mind? This is a question that people keep asking. Um, Again, because she's ambivalent, she seems and comes across as ambivalent on uh, um, um, a number of counts. You don't feel that she's wholly for or against something. At least this is the impression that we came out with, that she's ambivalent, and perhaps she's focused more on her drawings and the subtleties of the drawing. This is perhaps what she was after primarily. Again, it depends on your perspective. Again, and perhaps this is one reason why we say that the tale of Peter Rabbit is not a fable. A fable, normally in the Aesopian sense, have a clear moral vision. You normally have you are normally left with a moral lesson at the end. But this is not clear here. Again, the end is open. The end is up for grabs. And I mean, I'm talking about the interpretation of the end of the tale of Peter Rabbit. It's up for grabs. It depends on how you look at the chamomile tea. Is it punishment or reward? So this is again perhaps what is good about the tale of Peter Rabbit and what is good about Beatrice Potter. The fact that she does not Potter, the fact that she doesn't want to give you easy answers to the questions that you may have. You need to dig deep. You need to come up with your own interpretations. And this is literature. Literature is about interpreting, and literature, and in literature, you don't have right or wrong. You have visions, you have angle of visions, and you have interpretations. And my interpretation does not have to coincide with yours, as long as I have my own, kind of my own argument for or against what I'm saying, and as long as you also have your valid argument and body of evidence. Um, I, yeah, Wissam has a question. Let's hear what she has to say. Yeah, this is, yeah, like I said, everyone is entitled to his or her own opinion, provided that you're backing this up with your argument. Yeah. Again, you started off by saying, I don't think, which means that this is a view. Perhaps it can be countered by somebody else. Somebody may think of it in different ways and in different terms. Again, it's about interpretation. It's about, um, you know, starting an argument and following it through and backing it up with whatever you think is evidence from the picture. But this is what criticism and scholarly and literary criticism is about. It's about kind of having an independent point of view. Okay, that's interesting. Let's now shift gears and move to voices in the park. And I'll give you a couple of minutes to process what we've been saying about the tale of Peter Rabbit, and we start in 2 minutes, voices in the park. Well, I'll give you 5 long minutes to process what we've been saying, and then we come back and start voices in the park.
Doctor,
Yes, I'm here.
Doctor, I have a class at 10. Can I leave?
Yes, leave Afnan, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
guys. Today we're embarking on a treasure hunt of sorts. Early children's literature was often very didactic, reminding us that even the oldest stories have something to say about the human, about the.
I'll do something interesting, which is, yeah, this is also based on my archives of master classes. Like I said in my regular class, I generated that into a podcast, and there is something that I would like you to hear, and it's about picture books and the trajectory of picture books. It's an 11-minute piece of work. I'll share it, and I would like you to listen to it so that we can wrap up all the discussion about uh, the Tale of Peter Rabbit and the introduction to what picture books are and stuff like that. So we're going to listen for 11 minutes, and then after we have finished, we go all the way to Voices in the Park. Okay? If you can hear me, raise your hands. Can you hear me? Yeah, good. Right. So let's go for it. Let's listen to this podcast episode. So that's, like I said, it's an 11-minute kind of thing. So let's listen to it and see what will come out. Let me share it. Directing me in a certain way. It wants me to go to the setting and do stuff so that the audio can work. So I'll leave it. Perhaps I can share it on the WhatsApp group. Anyway, type. Let's go now to Voices in the Park. So how much do we know about Voices in the Park? If you attended the Monday class with me, you know a lot because we have done a number of things, not least the idea that I introduced you to a video. It was like 20 minutes and it covers Voices in the Park in and out. Let me see if I have the link to it also. Wait, playlist, and then Mhm. Mm, is the playlist. Okay, so this is the link that I'm talking about. Somebody wrote something and it's a long one. Yes, I have a comment from the previous. Who's that? I don't have any. Yes, I have a comment from the previous class. It's when Charles' voice starts to talk. The second picture of him walking in the park shows he has a win. How is he walking in his Who's that? Wissam. Oh, okay. We'll talk about that. Let me first of all share the link to the video that I'm referring to. This is amazing, and you're going to find a lot of insights. Again, I wouldn't uh, play this. I wouldn't watch the video until I have read the picture book, Voices in the Park, I mean. Again, like I always say, you need to start with the primary source and then move on to the secondary source. And one of the secondary sources now are podcasts, are videos, are books and articles and everything in between. So it's very important that you start with the primary source. Anyway, so promise me to perhaps today or early next week to read first of all the primary source, the text itself, Voices in the Park, and after you have finished, you go to the secondary source, which can be the video that I'm sharing with you now. Anyway, right. Let's talk about voices in the park. What do we know? Those who have read Voices in the Park, raise your hands. So we have Wissam and Munira and Joyce and Layla. That's interesting. Okay. Right. Mike and retell the story so that people can be on the same page. And because obviously other people haven't started doing it, that's why they haven't read it. But I need somebody to spoil it for them. How about that? So that they can be on the same page when we talk about issues and ideas and ideologies. Hmm. Can somebody come to the mic and retell the story if there is a story in the first place? Hmm. Are you sure you don't want to come to the mic and share? Okay, طيب. So let's talk about, remember what we said about context and the fact that context can, and context matters. And when I talk about context, I talk about the time and the period in which the work was written and published. And we said that, yeah, and this is normally very important. Textual analysis is very important too. Sometimes you need to divorce the work from its surroundings so that you don't get influenced by whatever was happening. But again, this social and economic interpretation can also be good and can be also be very informative. So what do we know? Do you still remember when it was written? I'm talking about Voices in the Park. If I'm not mistaken, perhaps 1999 or perhaps the early 2000s, which makes it what? Which makes it early modern or postmodern? What do you think? Yeah, postmodern. Yeah, if you're saying postmodern to yourself, you are right. It's a postmodern piece of work, which means that it has elements and characteristics that only apply to postmodern literature. Um, on top of that would be the idea of twisted narratives. And what do I mean by twisted narratives? I mean non-linear narratives. You don't have those conventional and typical uh, um, storytelling techniques where we start with a clear point in the past and then we move to the present and perhaps to the future. This linear trajectory is no longer there in postmodern texts, and Voices in the Park happens to be a postmodern piece of work. So non-linearity is one of the things, and non-linearity is something that you're going to feel in Voices in the Park. Another very important element is the idea of destabilization, the fact that lots of ideas and values are challenged in the postmodern text. We talk about ideas of gender related to gender roles, ideas related to whatever is wise, whatever is typical and conventional. So obviously, destabilization is one of the hallmarks of postmodern literature. Lots of ideas are being challenged. And big on those ideas would be the idea of meta-narratives or grand narratives. Grand narratives are those ideologies that have been widespread from time immemorial. If we talk about Christianity, Marxism, those entrenched patterns of thought that regulate our life or that have been regulating our life. With the postmodern text, there is a challenge to that. I mean, the postmodern writer does not believe in that. So we're in for what we call many narratives rather than grand and meta narratives. So we're going to also see that happening. Again, we're focused on the non-linearity of the text, and this is when it comes to techniques and strategies, narrative strategies, and we're focused on the idea of destabilization and the sweeping away and the dismissal of meta-narratives, whether on the level of ideas, or even on the level of, life encounters and life situations. Okay, so what do we see in Voices in the Park? So it's voices that we're having, and it's a park that we are in. So if you unpack the title, you're going to find it very helpful in telling you what exactly happened. Actually, nothing happened. So voices means that actors involved within the picture book, and in the park is where uh, most of the narrative takes place. So it's a park with the associations of a park. So parks are about people coming together, whether they sit on their own or sometimes they gather and they sit together and they talk, they try to reach out, and you need to think of whether this is happening or not, whether reaching out is taking place. And of course, when you go to the park, you find people from different classes. It's not limited to one single class. No, parks are usually replete with different types of classes. You have the poor, you have the rich, and normally, and sometimes they reach out. And reaching out can be, having or staying in touch with each other can be positive, and they can build relationships, and they take it to the next level, and they become friends. And sometimes animosities and hatred, also arise, and they end up leaving the park not happy about the whole experience. We're going to see whether this or that is happening in the picture book. Again, it's a park with the associations of a park and its voices. And voices would give you this sense that we're in for people who are going to express their views and opinions about things, which is, in a sense, true. Voices can also be, I'm sorry, can be a reference to the narrators in the picture book. But it's very strange because we are normally kind of used to one single narrator. You normally have a narrator who, whether he is omniscient or not, at least he is there and is giving you the whole narrative. You have one single and singular narrator. Uh, but we have voices, and it says voices, which means that perhaps we have more than one narrator, and this is obviously very strange. So what we're going to find is that we, instead of having one single narrator, we have a number of narrators. Yeah, go ahead, Yamunira.
And also, I want to mention that the writer uses different fonts, type of writing according to the character.
Yeah, that's true. Again, we're talking about multiple narrators, which is something, like I said, we are not used to. And another thing about the narrative is that the narrative is very democratic, which is a postmodern, perhaps, feature or characteristic. The fact that it's not limited to a mature individual like we have seen in novels and short stories down through the ages. You normally have mature narrators, and whenever you have a child narrating, you normally say that this is unreliable narrator. So in this sense, if you get to know that we have two narrators who happen to be kids or children, so you're going to say that that narrative is unreliable, and obviously this is unreliable in and of itself, because in the postmodern era, there is a great deal of dispute and debate on what it means to be unreliable. Unreliability is not associated with kids and women anymore. So this is one of the challenges that we're having. The fact that two of the narrators are children. So you have four narrators. Two of them are mature and old enough, and the other two are children. So again, having multiple narrators is in and of itself uh, strange and unusual, and having two children among from the four being children is equally strange. Again, this is the postmodern era where things are taking a different turn. Whatever we are used to as conventional is not there anymore. We are in for a different interpretation of the world, for a different set of practices. You may agree or may not agree with them. This is perhaps besides the point. So again, voices in the park. So obviously voices, like I said, would point to the multiplicity of narrators that we have. Again, it's very simple. We are in the park where people come, obviously to chill out. to have fun. Now, obviously, they are perhaps escaping something. They are flying away from perhaps their worries, their cares, their issues and problems. And the park is a good venue for them to, like I said, to perhaps relax, to reach out to other people, to share whatever they have in terms of issues and problems. And then we see how it goes. And sometimes you have listening ears, like I said, people that can listen to you and you forge bonds and relationships with them, and they end up being your best friends. Some other times you don't have that. Some other times, differences arise, and depending on the characters, depending on their personality, you may have them projecting their class distinctions, having those borders set between them and the other members of society. So what I'm trying to say is that the text is bare on the surface, but when you delve deep, when you read it and look at the pictures very deeply, you come up with ideas. Another very important thing that you need to also think of and keep in mind whenever you read this and any other pictured book would be the idea of a paratext. And what do I mean by paratext? I mean whatever is around the text. We don't focus on the story when it starts. No, we start way back. We start with the cover page and the back page. We look at the titles and how they are written. We look at the fonts. We look at the biographical information about the author even before. We look at publication data, where it was published and when, and whether it was republished. Copyright data and information. These are things that now mean a lot, and they are part of the total and the unity of experience. In order to arrive at um, a total or a totalizing, um, encompassing, and comprehensive experience, you need to consider these things. That's why before the text starts and even within the text, you need to look very closely at the fonts that are used and how they differ from one narrator to another. You need to also look at the symbolism that is all over the place, color symbolism, the place in terms of objects, um, how the characters are presented. They are small, they are big in comparison to each other, which is big, which of them is big and which of them is small, and whether this is significant. Uh, um, you need to also look at the idea of intertextuality. Intertextuality is all over the place in this postmodern text. And intertextuality is when you have reference to other pieces of work, whether those are artistic or literary. And you're going to find this text replete with them. You have the painting of the Mona Lisa and other paintings. You have King Kong, looking on the park from a skyscraper or a very tall building. You have other cultural and civilizational uh, references that you need to engage with and explain and relate to the text. It's a very lovely kind of work. And I don't want to spoil it even by telling you about what happened because, like I said, nothing much happened. It's a piece of work that is based on ideas, whether those ideas are clashing because they have ideologies behind them. So this is what I want you to focus on. I would like you, if you need a plan of action for Voices in the Park, it would go as follows. You start off by reading the text itself, and again, it's not going to take much time because it's not a full-fledged novel. You don't have 300 or 400 or even 100 pages. You need to look at the pictures and what they mean. You need to look at the color symbolism. You need to look at the characters and where they are and what they do. You need to also remember that uh, the characters are not human beings, and that would bring us to the idea of anthropomorphism. This picture book and the other one were anthropomorphic. Anthropomorphic in the sense that you have, you know, human qualities and human features and characteristics given to animals who now behave like human beings. They hate, they love, they feel alienated sometimes. So they have the qualities of the human beings. That's why we call it anthropomorphic. Um, so gorillas are the characters in in Voices in the Park, and rabbits are the characters in The Tale of Peter Rabbit. So anthropomorphism is all over the place when it comes to children's literature and when it comes to picture books more specifically. Again, you need to ask yourself why. Why, first of all, why animals? This is one thing, and why of all the animals we have those types of animals, whether in the Tale of Peter Rabbit or in Voices in the Park. Um, Again, this is the first thing that you're going to do is to read the text and engage with the text, and then go and watch the video that I told you about. It's 17 minutes and it's very comprehensive, and then go and read the critical material, the essays. And there are not so many. When it comes to Voices in the Park, I think it's only one or two. Um, so I still have time for questions if you have any. Come to the mic and share with us if you have any concerns. Again, let me remind you that we have rescheduled quiz one. Quiz one is not next week as I first announced. It's now on or in week 5 on Thursday, which happens to be, I think, the 20th of February. Again, the reason why I have rescheduled it because part of what you're going to be tested on is Voices in the Park. Any questions, everyone and anyone?
Yes, doctor, I have a question.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
what
go
are
ahead,
the
Maria.
materials that are included in the midterm?
The midterm normally covers the Tale of Peter Rabbit, Voices in the Park, and The Other Side of Truth.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions? Are you sure? Okay. طيب. On this note and with this item, we'll come to the end of the, for those who just came, we are putting you, if you belong to other classes, in the WhatsApp group that we have for my class. And I think the link is in the chat area. Take the link and join the group so that you can receive, you know, updates and links and material, يعني in a timely manner. Okay, طيب. I'll see you inshallah next week. Thank you so much and have a pleasant weekend. Assalamu alaikum. Bye bye.
Thank you, Doctor. Mashallah.
Thank you,
Welcome.
Doctor.
You're welcome. Bye bye.
Thank you, Doctor.
Salam alaikum.